I guess jumping into an online placement, I didn't meet the students physically, but I could, I guess, build that and develop that rapport based on, communication from my mentors and understanding of the context of the class. And I think that's one way that I guess the placement was such a great support and helped me to build those important relationships that I guess are a bit more, easier in the face-to-face environment, but being encouraged to, grow and adapt in the online platform in new and exciting ways was so important. One thing that I did learn during placement, that teenagers, especially in online world, can be quite timid and not want to present themselves and speak aloud. So it was very important for me to, how do I get those students engaged and involved in the online learning environment, and using, for example, the platform of Teams or any other platform where there is a chat function, encouraging perhaps the learners that are a bit more quieter, how to get them involved. Or how about typing yes in the chat, or type yes in the chat if you understand, and making it more approachable and fun in a way, like thumbs up. And it's those little things that I found that I guess enhanced my placement experience. It's those small little rapport building things that I guess supported the whole online teaching component.
And not necessarily just picking up someone else's lesson plan, but having to develop my own resources that suited what I was teaching, having to develop a plan that then the entire teaching team would adapt to, which was I found really exciting, to be honest, that I was put in position to actually shape some curriculum rather than take someone else's class and run with it that way. But the mentors that I had were fantastic in using the Microsoft Teams or the Zoom calls that we had. So it made it really easy to check in, made it really easy to touch base immediately after class. I think more so than anything, and while it was my first placement, I found it a great way to do placement. You got immediate feedback, you got to try something new, and it gave you more freedom to try something else, I guess.
I can't do this lab exercise, but I can adapt it to using this online simulation tool instead. Or I can't do this hands-on activity that I would have done in the classroom, but I'd use this puzzle style activity online instead. So there's ways to adapt and be flexible with and base decisions of what you would have done in the classroom and change into what you can do online. And my mentor was really gave me a lot of good ideas to bounce off one another, and she made good suggestions. And then I think it worked both ways as well. I think there was some suggestions I made that my mentor took on board as well. So it's a two-way street, I think, when it comes to especially during online placement, since it is so new to everyone. There's that option for learning from the mentor and learning from the mentee.
Story, I've wanted to be a teacher as long as I can remember. I've always had this vision of how I expected my placements to turn out. Obviously, COVID came along, kind of threw everything that I expected out the window. And then when I learned that I was going to be doing placement in this COVID environment, it really challenged me in a lot of different ways, because obviously I had these expectations. I was going to be in a face-to-face classroom. I was in so many minds. I'm like, oh, do I actually do this placement? Do I just wait, postpone it, and hope that things will work out? But I think in terms of support from the mentor, he encouraged me to do so much more than I thought was possible. So, he kind of reiterated a lot of the time that, placement is absolutely the best time to take risks. Try something different. If it fails, it fails. That's fine. You learn from it, you adapt, you try again. And so one thing I was always terrified to try was a flipped model. So actually recording a class, sending it out, and then doing a workshop style. I did that once or twice, and it was actually some of the best lessons that I had through my placement. And obviously it wasn't perfect. It was my first time. There was a lot of room for improvement, but it's something that I can definitely foresee myself doing in the future. And yeah, like if I didn't have those endorsements from a mentor, I probably wouldn't have done it. And having this online platform just made it so much easier to take those risks. One of the real positive ways my mentor supported me is pushing me to do things that I didn't even think I could do.
Everyone found that they were learning from the mentor, and the mentors were also learning from them. And it wasn't so much of being a burden on the mentor or on the students necessarily, that you were providing your own certain role, teaching our kids if we don't take challenges ourselves.
Online placement was an extremely valuable experience for me, and it taught me important skills about teaching remotely. As it was my first placement, I didn't have any other experiences to compare this to, and therefore I went into this with an open mind and ready to learn. The most important part of it for me was making a connection with the students, and I felt really supported by my mentor, Damien. So he guided me through every step of the way. The first challenge was probably learning how to use and navigate the different online platforms. There was a few going around, so scheduling lessons via Microsoft Teams. I guess there's a lot of multitasking required when teaching, but I think teaching remotely especially, because I'd run a lesson via Teams, students will be private messaging me, I'd have to reply to them, other students would leave their microphones on, muting them. So ensuring that it was a safe online environment, especially when screen sharing in particular. So tucking away, your personal files and making sure everything was professional and appropriate because students can see it. So definitely mastering the technology side, I think, was a big challenge. But once I wrapped my head around it, with the help and support of my mentor, online teaching became more manageable and I became a lot more confident.